At point blank range, who stepped in the game? At point blank range, who stepped in the game? Stepped in the game, stepped in the game.
Show us light from now. Show us light. Just ignore. I don't want to hear how long will it be
Good evening and Merry Wednesday, I guess. Yeah, I'll never get tired of seeing the end of that Ultra combo, but it is what it is. Welcome to ShadowCast 48. I have with me Sandstorm McDowell in the building.
What up? What up? Did I go silent? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, for a second.
Okay.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I was just sitting there listening to the epicness of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and just the countdown just like builds the momentum on that. That's perfect. That's spot on.
Yeah, it's almost like that was a really good game. It's not trapped on Wii U because you could just play it with you.
Right.
Whole nother story, but
Hashtag I got mine, so be all right.
For sure. Yeah, some stuff happened this week. I mean, technically Tuesday, but before we get into that, like as always, I try to do. Well, before what I used to do was start a podcast at any time, like completely randomly. But I have to get back to that at some point. But I guess I'll start off with what games you've been gaming, man, because I'm pretty sure you know what I just got through playing. So.
Yeah, I know. I do, and perfect timing too, so I can actually talk to you about it. Let's see, a couple weeks ago. No, it was just last week. I finished the same game that you finished. It was ironic because I started way before you did. So, but
once you get into it, it's just
yeah, and I think the only reason why I moved away is because of all the other games that were coming out, and I had to make space. But yeah, so finally finished Shin Megami Tensei. Went back into Arceus, and I still haven't beaten the Avalugg. Is that the Pokemon?
I'm not sure because I haven't even started it yet.
Man,
it's sitting upstairs. I watched my son playing, but I haven't gotten into it yet.
The way I play that game is the same way I play Shin Megami Tensei. Like I start going, I'm like, oh, this quest over here. Oh wait, this person needs something over here. And I think all my Pokemon are like 75. And I was talking to Trey, and he's like, my Pokemon are only like barely above 50, and
Wow.
I'm at the end of the game. I'm like, that's what happens when they give me too many quests. So
you tend to do those quests. You tend to turn in those quests, and you tend to get a lot of experience for said quests.
You try and look away, and you're like, nah, I should just do it. It's just right there. It's just right there. So yeah, other than that, been trying to get back into Outriders. Got a couple people who have been interested in that. So
okay.
I haven't played since like the first couple months that we were all playing. So yeah, just getting back into that. And
what platform are you playing on?
PC. So
is PC cross-platform with the other two?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so all three of them can play together?
Yep.
Okay.
PS4, Xbox One. Do they have it for Series? Is it Series? Okay. So
I mean, everything is for Series X at this point.
Right.
Whether you make a $70 version or not, they're like, well, we're adding 4K. Go.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not even. I just really think Sony's approach to that was all ass backwards, and then once again, I think they got snubbed. So
yeah. Playing the PC version of that. So I mean, it's fun. We actually have the PS4 version because I got it for my son, thinking that we were probably going to play, and he has fun with it. But man, I went down there, and I was like, "Whew, this looks like PS2. I can't." And I think I don't even know if it runs at 60. Maybe it runs at 30.
I don't even want to know what it looks like, because I remember originally when me and Jay were first playing the alpha, it was kind of chuggy because the graphics were kind of looking like Gears of War initially.
Yeah,
because they were trying to figure out how the playtest was going to go.
Nothing changed.
it cleaned up over a couple of days. They started adding some patches here and there, and I was playing on the Series X, but and then my son got it for PS5, and he ran through it pretty quick. But yeah, he spammed the flame.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to get through it. Really.
Yeah, so that's what he did to level up pretty quickly.
It's funny you said Gears of War because I think even Jay said that, and especially when you get into the later like gear and stuff, they just look so top heavy. Even the girls doing it is like, this is weird.
Yeah, that's how they wanted to do their loot. So, yeah, I mean, I do want to get back into that game. I did kind of like the gunplay mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of interesting in how you never knew when you were going to come across a world boss, if you will,
right
needed to tackle. Yeah, so that was interesting. I do want to try to get back into that game and play that a little bit more and see how much I end up liking that. From what I hear a lot of mixed results about that game. Some people absolutely hate it, some people absolutely love it. So
it's fine.
Yeah.
And the reason why I got back into it anyway is because they announced DLC for it, which I think is next month, June. Golly, the year is already flying.
Flying by. It'll be E3 next a few weeks.
Yeah. So yep, I think the DLC is like June 20th or something like that. So I want to go ahead and just knock out a couple of the stories for a couple of the characters and just jump into the DLC and see what that looks like.
Okay. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, I mean, you guys know what I was playing anyway. If y'all follow me, you know what game I was playing. So I'm not even going to mention that.
How do y'all like it?
I mean, I love this game. I love it. A lot of charm to it. I had been away from the Shin Megami series for a while. The last PlayStation game I played, I think, was 3. Because 1 and 2 were NES and SNES, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So 3, I believe I played on PS2, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's been a while for me to jump to leave and then come back into, hey, yeah, you got to do this. Also, we're not going to hold your hand. Also, you're going to die a lot. So
yeah,
it was kind of rough early on until you start
figuring out the system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the things that you beg for, like the things that you want, like early on in that game, you won't even need by then. Like you're like, I just wish there was a way for me to do this. You won't need it by the time you get to where you need to be in that game. So you get the leveling up enough and you end up stacking buffs and debuffs or whatever you don't even need. You're like, I just wish I could heal everybody all at once and never have to worry about it. And you don't have to.
Yeah,
it's not built that way.
Even the characters that you like see that are late game that you see in early game, you're like, him. I know I'm gonna get him. By the time you get to him, you're like, I don't need you really.
Yep, don't even need him no more. You're like, oh, this is the ultimate character, and then you look and you're like, but I could take this ultimate character and I could make an even better one by merging them with somebody else. Like it's just you constantly find something better, which I think is kind of cool. So,
who ended up being your team? Who'd you team up?
So I am right before the end of the game, and I'm not going to do anything yet because there's like 3 other really big quests I have to do. I did one to get the special hidden character that you need to get or whatever to join the team. Right. And so I have them in my party currently right now, and pretty much everybody is a healer / killer that I have. So. And you have your different elements that you have. I stack a couple that are really good with severe force, severe, and just, pick your different elements and go from there. So pretty much everybody throughout the party has at least 2 or more elements that I'm using, the heaviest amount. I use Almighty and one other person uses Almighty, and then we just keep the rotation in that order. And I really rarely do I have to leave from those default 4. Every now and then I might have to rotate out to a character to revive somebody else and bring them back. But
Right.
So far so good. I haven't come across, and I'm playing stuff that's well above my level right now. So and I haven't come across anything yet. Now there are a couple of there's an area where you're intentionally supposed to skip and then come back to later because it's extremely high level. So but I managed to get halfway through that fight almost one time, just messing around to see if I could do it. I got about halfway through it, so I was like, oh, okay, so it's possible. I just need to maybe level a little bit more.
Yeah,
so,
I know that's Dark Void can attest. I think that's actually where Dark Void stopped at. And I purposely didn't show that match, but when you get halfway, I'm not gonna ruin anything for you because I want you to enjoy it for the chess match that it really is. But when you get halfway, you realize there's like specific things and actions that you constantly got to do. But that main boss always tries to set you up for failure right at that point. And and as a matter of fact, all I can say is don't be quick to hit the button. Like make sure you watch. Just make sure you watch the field because I think they even do some trickery where an enemy will show up, but because the main boss is so big, it'll be hiding behind that. The main boss, and you'd be like, "Wait a minute, where'd you come from? Because you weren't there before."
Don't let me focus on this one thing. I need to catch you hiding. Yep. So yeah, that's kind of the focus, and so now I'm trying to go around and do my last little couple of quests because there are a couple of other quests there too that are kind of interesting as far as like backstory goes. So I want to finish those, figure out how those end. And then just run straight to the end. I mean, I'm just running to the top of a hill. So we'll see how that goes, and then I'll go from there. But I'm pretty much there. So yeah, I mean, so far so good, and it plays like I won't say how Andre said. He said stop playing Persona without the heart, but no, I'm loving this old school tactical JRPG. Well, not a tactical game, but it's a tactics driven turn-based JRPG. So you can't just go willy-nilly and let me just auto run the fight and see what happens. You auto run the fight, you will see the game over screen.
Yeah,
so
you definitely can't go that route. I don't even know why they even put that in there because
you got to play on like the easiest mode. I don't know no other way to.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to just be like, well, I just want to run through these fights because I don't feel like fighting myself. Let me walk away for a second and come back and you're like, and you didn't save.
Yep. Yeah, don't be that guy. Like always, like anytime I say, oh, there's blue light over here, I'm saving.
Yep.
And this just has to happen because if not, then you end up hating yourself. And I never thought I would press L so many times in my life.
Oh man.
But you need it. Like if anything, I use it for quick travel. Like I will go somewhere real high, jump down, grab something, and warp right back up. Just that kind of stuff. So I became real accustomed to the systems all over again real quick. So but yeah, really love that game. So Shin Megami Tensei 5, if you haven't played it yet, go play it. It's
my game of last year.
Oh yeah, really, really, really good. But you know how it goes here. Like my game of the year will probably be a game from 2018 or something. That's just the way it goes. Like I'll get around to playing like PS5 launch games probably sometime by November, maybe. It's just the way it goes. So
right, Ratchet and Clank.
But yeah, just saying hey to everybody in chat. Got a couple comments here just saying hey to y'all. We got who got in here? We got Dark Void showing up. He said he got his Deus Ex. Yes, that's the one. Any gamer. I don't know what he was talking about there, but he's probably speaking about Shin Megami Tensei at some point when we were talking. And we got Game Idea guy in here. Dark Void again. Oh, Trinell's in here. Okay, what's going on?
What up, Trinell?
So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the topic here. Andre over here talking. We can't demonetize, can't talk about it.
Right.
But man, at this point, spoilers for our 2012 system. Yeah, you can take the SD card and put a whole bunch of stuff on it.
You better pick up custom Robo.
Yeah, you can start playing GameCube games on that thing in HD. It's just great. It's wonderful stuff, man. It's amazing what you could do with that system that people said couldn't run anything. It's just funny. But yeah, so yeah, things have happened this week. Like we got, good old Squeenix.
Oh boy.
And I kind of said my normal Smoke Fest tweet out this morning. Just generally saying like people were like, oh, this is surprising. And I'm like, what do you expect? This is a quote unquote AAA studio, and they're pushing out all these games. They own all these other subsidiaries under them. They push out all these games at $60 to $70 a pop, and they don't sell at $60, $70 a pop. You see them on the Steam store for $5 and $6.
Mm-hmm.
You see them, at Christmas time for $20 for a physical copy. And eventually they end up selling 5 to maybe 10 million or what have you. But what happened to that initial $200 to $300 million project? Are they getting that money back in earnest at that point? And by those times, we mean it has to please investors as well, because you're talking, they're not caring that you eventually made your money back over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know that $200 million was, especially for a lot of these companies, because they have these newer type investors that don't think long term, they want it by the end of the quarter. So you have these games come out and they don't do too well. They hype them all up. They don't do too well. What have you? So even if it sells 10 million, that's not enough for them to break even at $70, because you're talking about a game that's well over $100 million. You're not making that back in time.
Right.
So you're talking about games that need to do Animal Crossing numbers, and they're doing
nowhere near
Super Mario Sunshine numbers, and not at Super Mario Sunshine prices. So it's just odd, man. And so obviously Square's got to trim the fat. So I've got their official statement, because I don't want to use anybody's website or any other kind of foolishness. So we'll just go ahead and cut to the chase here. So right here in the middle, we have the statement of what they are getting rid of. This is the official holding statement, and they are cutting as quoted. Well, as you can see here, I'll just go ahead and make it full screen so everybody can see here. So you got execution of share transfer agreement will change the subsidiaries, divestiture of select overseas studios and IP. And since this is a Japanese studio, obviously you know that overseas means here or other countries outside of Japan.
Right.
So they're getting rid of, or they're selling to Embracer Group AB. They're just buying up everything at this point. I did not know they were from Sweden though, but they're going to divest all this stuff. So they're liquidating Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Interactive Corp, Tomb Raider, with the IP of Tomb Raider, Deus Ex Thief, and Legacy of Kain. So it says at their board meeting held on 27 April 2022, the board resolved to entrust Representative Director Yusuke Matsuda with the right of final decision. All conditions have been met. The share transfer agreement was concluded today. Further down, it says the purpose of the transaction is to assist the company in adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment by establishing a more efficient allocation of resources. Basically, we weren't making enough money. Which will, I mean, just look at these words: enhance corporate value by accelerating growth in the company's core businesses in the digital entertainment domain. This basically means we want to look better to our shareholders,
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to invest in NFTs essentially. So, in addition, the transaction enables the launch of a new business by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. The move is based on the policy of business structure optimization that the company set forth under medium-term business strategy unveiled on May 13th, 2021. Bruh.
We are
So
liquidating assets right now.
yeah, the bottom statement there, it says going forward, the company's development function will comprise its studios in Japan, Square Enix external studios, and Square Enix Collective. The company's overseas studios will continue to publish franchises such as Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. Obviously, because Just Cause sells, I guess this means Outrider sales, or because it's one of those continual type games.
Mm-hmm.
And Life is Strange sales, so makes sense. Just really, really weird. Primary company to be divested, which is on the next page, which I can forward to here. Let me see if I can get it to move. I don't know if it will or not. All right, so in that clip there, Crystal Dynamics, and they were the major shareholder, 100%. And the total equity and assets, the equity per share. And I believe this is in million yen, if I'm not mistaken. No, they're saying US dollars. But what value of dollars? They don't really have it here. But at the top, it says stated capital is 40 million for the market cap of this company for Crystal Dynamics. So we're talking about 40 million for them. Further down is Eidos, and always go to the source, right? So Eidos Interactive, you got 6.2 million for them, and showing their total equity. I'm guessing by March 2021, that's essentially 30.1 million total equity. But you're talking about revenue of 99 million, operating income of 4. And net is 640. Jesus, what a hit!
Right.
Wow, they're getting scrubbed right now. And then what's the primary down here? This is going to be the rest of Embracer taking Tomb Raider Deus XD for Legacy of Kain. So that's going to Embracer Group, who they put their value on here. They put 1.3 million Swedish krona on here. So we got different monetary values here. So short of an exchange rate calculator out here, we really don't know what this entire value is for Embracer Group as a whole. We don't know how much they ended up having to spend in terms of transfer to make this transaction happen. More than likely, it happened in share trades more so than actual dollar. But it just says the transfer price is US $300 million. So, but that's supposedly the whole gist there. 300 mil, which is just insane.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do at this point? So we now have a strange situation here where we have remember the whole goal is, not to bring it back to Nintendo, but a lot of people, like to crap on them and say, hey, look, you can't run these games. We need these games because these are the games that are pushing the industry forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's the statement that we hear all the time from gaming press and people that like to push the narrative, pushing the industry forward. Massive debt doesn't look like pushing the industry forward. What creativity is being added with regard to something like that if the games don't really change per se? How massively has any of these gameplay systems changed overall? Short of the last time I could think of a gameplay system changing drastically in any of the core Square games was their attempt at Xenoblade, which was Final Fantasy 12. Obviously, they funded MMOs with 11 and 14, and apparently, I guess 16 is going to be the next MMO, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So that's their goal. But as far as like massively changing how gaming goes, these are JRPGs, man. They're not going to change. Tomb Raider is essentially Batman, which was essentially Metroid. So yeah.
Even at that time, I was thinking when they rebooted Tomb Raider, I think that's really, is that when Square first got Crystal Dynamics, when they
around
had
that time?
That was like around the same time Uncharted came around, and they were doing this like, we can do Uncharted better than Uncharted type deal, but like Uncharted was supposed to be like Tomb Raider. It was supposed to be like Sony's Tomb Raider. And
isn't that crazy how they're chasing each other? Like Uncharted, we're gonna be the next Tomb Raider, and Tomb Raider's like, we'll do what Uncharted's doing. I'm like, but they're trying to be like you. Why would you try to be like the thing that's trying to be like you?
Right. To the point where, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Tomb Raider was exclusive for the Xbox for a little while before it even became a PlayStation game.
I think it was Xbox 360 reveal originally, if I'm not mistaken, for the Tomb Raider remake. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was an Xbox reveal. I could be wrong about that. We can Google it, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was at the Xbox showcase at E3. The whole situation. Oh, well, she crawling in the cave, and oh my God, she got hurt, and look at all the motion cap, and I mean, all that was a whole
around her.
Yeah, that was a whole thing, and I'm just like, okay, all right, cool. But what is the gameplay like? And then the game plays like Batman / Metroid, which is great. Like, it's good. I mean, but probably what they wanted to do with that game, if they wanted to make quote unquote a grand epic game, as far as a remake of that series, it would probably be all three of them combined. But as much as they say, hey, look, this is the next generation, we can make games bigger, they really couldn't, because budgets are bigger,
right?
But game development practices aren't bigger,
right?
So they spend more money to take more photos, to do more research, to have higher res textures, but they aren't making their gameplay process bigger. They're not making design bigger in a way that massively scales up what needs to happen. You're not going to have a massive game world that basically includes a trilogy inside of one game.
Right.
That's not going to happen. And that's probably what the original envisioning was, where you go from, hey, she doesn't know who she is, and then now she knows who she is, and now we got this other situation where, you know, she's learning things about her past, and then we have this other situation where she finds out the true purpose of everything and becomes this ultimate badass towards the end, and now she's like halfway evil somehow. Like that, you know, that kind of thing, that's not going to happen yet. The closest I've seen to something like that happening was probably, I mean, as far as the scope and like a sweeping story, were probably 3 games worth of story, or 3 games worth of, I guess, playing through the story. Infamous. The very first Infamous, because that game kind of stretched itself out. That first game stretched itself out quite a bit.
Yeah, especially towards the back end.
Yeah, it stretched itself out, but it all made sense though, because you're gradually becoming whatever you chose to be. So that kind of made sense, and I think that would have worked for a Tomb Raider, but that would have been prohibitively expensive, to the point of why they ended up being 3 games. And it's great. I mean, I love all 3 of them. So
right.
But is that worth, 100, 200 million per game to then release for $60 and then not sell that $60 for longer than 3 months. Like those are the things. Those are the things that I don't think is ever really. They're just like, well, every other studio is doing it this way, and they seem to be getting their investors to greenlight this shit every 3 months. So I guess we can do it too. And it's just the brokest thing to me, because I'm like, hey, you have this insular logic here just because other people here have the same dumb idea and they all wear suits, so it's okay.
Right.
Like nobody in the room raise their hand and say, hey, what the fuck are we doing? Like that never. Because if I got my money on the line and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm never going to get these dividends back if I'm going to be an investor.
Right.
Like
right.
I'm never going to get these back. So what you're going to tell me is the only way that our stocks are going to remain at a higher value is that we overinflate them by kind of like not lying, but saying it's not bad, even though we state factually what happened. Oh, well, we sold 5 million copies. It's the most Tomb Raider has ever sold within this time period. Okay, great. But it's also the most expensive Tomb Raider you've ever made. So y'all profiting or nah? Like that's kind of what I'm. And I don't think that ever happens. And there's third-party games that go through this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Huge budgets, overbloated budgets, to the point where they brag about it. Hey, we're AAA because our budget's so big. And I'm like, AAA used to mean you were good.
Right.
Not
much money.
expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see that as a ticker point, but that appears to be what the masses are doing, man. I don't know.
The ironic thing I think about this whole thing is if you kind of look back, I won't say that most of this is the problem, but we've already said Square Enix is constantly hemorrhaging money, and none of these franchises that they're talking about were franchises that we were seeing coming out recently. Shoot, maybe even in the last 5 years, and you have 2 big games that came from Square, and both of them went through the worst development. You got Final Fantasy 15 that originally started off on their own Luminous engine, and they couldn't get that running, so they had to move it over to Unreal Engine 4. That was a 10-year development for that game. And then you have Kingdom Hearts, who also started off on the Luminous engine, and they couldn't get that game running right, so they had to move it to Unreal. And to be honest with you, I think that was a PS3 game to begin with, and it just took so long they had to move it over to PS4. It wasn't even at the beginning of the PS4 life cycle. And when you have 2 developments, and you know how much they spend on Final Fantasy in the first place, let alone Kingdom Hearts, and you have to start that all over because you have to move assets over from one engine to another. I think that caused a whole lot of problems. And now and this is why I'm kind of scared of Forspoken. Is that the one? That's the one coming out this year.
That's the other thing.
That's a Luminous engine game. So it's like, and you see they already pushed it back once. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be something that gets pushed back again. Like hopefully that comes out this year. But when you constantly have to switch stuff over or make a whole development change just to get something to work, you just wasted money 2 times over. Nintendo, and you can't act like, okay, well, we're just gonna let these franchises go. We're gonna make stuff work, because I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but that's all it's doing is just putting a band-aid over a big old scar. Like Nintendo has a whole bunch of franchises that they got sitting in the back, but you don't see them selling them off. They just, even if they don't know what to do with them, they just let them sit there. And as a matter of fact, they renew those licenses.
Eternal Darkness, like who knows if that game is even ever going to be in development again, but they're going to keep their franchise.
One day it'll get a remaster or something.
Yeah, they'll figure something out. So, I mean, Dark Void just put here, Guardians of the Galaxy, horrible launch, horrible, and they did Avengers as well, right?
Yep, that's the one that
So,
really messed. See, Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like if it would have ended up coming out before Marvel's, I feel like it would have sold a whole lot better. Heck, Marvel might have even sold better because it came off of Guardians of the Galaxy. People say
yep.
Guardians is actually good. So,
Uh, Ray, I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, I mean, as far as cutting their losses, that's the title of the podcast. But it's at this point, you've already proven that your idea from the beginning was wrong.
mhm.
So what good is it going to do at this point? Right now, I mean, you're fattening frogs for snakes at this point, for lack of a better euphemism for it. Um, think about this. While we already mentioned, Final Fantasy delays, Kingdom Hearts delays, and stuff like that. Final Fantasy Remake was a project. It was a PS3 project, and I just shipped a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
So how many times did that game restart development? How many times did they end up having to research how a game engine was going to be? And that's one of their flagship titles. And we're not even going to talk about whatever whatever budgets they had to absorb from Crystal Dynamics, from Eidos, from Enix during the merger of them and Enix as well. So
Mhm.
um, because you got to close everybody's books when you buy somebody. So they absorb all these costs. They incur all these costs developing these games, and then you go look. I mean, let's just go ahead and pull it up now. I want to look up some of these sales right now because I just don't see. I don't see it. I don't see how they have the numbers that they're supposed to have here. So I'll pull this up a little bit here. Let me see what we got. We'll go
I
ahead and
mean,
pull
they
straight up.
crashed Balan Wonderworld, so it's like, what are they, like 2 or 3 games in, bad games in, bad sales, I should say.
Yeah, it's just I don't like this is strange to me. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and let's Google this real quick and see what we got. Because I don't if we pull this and let's just see how much how can I say this? Well, I'm trying to think of a recent game. Probably Final Fantasy. No, not Final Fantasy. Let's just say,
Outriders was last. What was before Outriders? Balan was before. No, Balan was last. Outriders was before that.
yeah,
What was the last big one?
the last big game was it Final Fantasy 15? It might have
I think.
been,
I think it.
other than Tomb Raider, like because we're talking about just Square, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I think it might be.
So, all right, so that's supposed to be their big go here. Um, line two. See where we're at. 5 million copies.
That's not good. Oh, I lied. I lied. I forgot they do all of Personas and um Bravely's too, but I guess those would be under a Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they would. And they do Dragon Quest as well. So I'm wondering, was it Dragon
Dra-
Quest
Dragon Quest 10,
11? Dragon
11?
Quest 11. Dragon Quest 11S, I believe, or I'll just do Dragon Quest 11 sales and see where we are here.
I forgot they had Babylon Falls. Oh, Final Fantasy 7.
The remix. So
Yeah.
like it's saying Dragon Quest 11 shipped 6.5 million copies. I don't know when that was, but obviously that was in their profit because Dragon Quest has a lower budget
Mm-hmm.
than Final Fantasy. But you said, what was the game you said again?
There's Dragon Quest. Final Fantasy 7, the remake, and Babylon's Fall. Now I think that one did really bad.
Yeah, pretty sure. Let's see where we are here, and we're talking about I mean, there's no way. There's got to be better than that. That's what Square Enix put out. What's the date on that though?
Yeah, 5 million copies.
Shipped, and what was the date
It's
on
sold
that?
digitally worldwide.
Yeah,
between two consoles, because it's on XM PS4/5.
So this looks like this is in 2020. So it's probably sold more than 5 at this point, I would imagine.
Ray said if Sony buys Square, we only get in Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts from now on. I don't know about that. You might not even get Kingdom Hearts because Sora is a Disney character.
Yeah.
And that means Sony has to pay Disney, which I mean they were before with 1 and 2, but 3 was on all systems. I don't know about that. I don't know if Disney will let that go so easily.
Yeah, say Kingdom Hearts now. Yeah, we'll see. I don't. It's just strange because, like, where are they getting the idea that they're doing okay? Like you sold that so you can gain another $300 million, right?
For what though?
Exactly, and then so you're gonna go then fund the only 2 other big franchises you have left. Because you're splitting Kingdom Hearts, so that doesn't really count. So you're talking Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, really, at this point, because everything else that you do, they get you a little bit here and there. You can do your Octopath or what have you. That kind of stuff would get you some sales. I mean, Nintendo Switch is like carrying Square right now with some of those games because those are significantly lower budget than a Final Fantasy game. They're putting up 1 and 2 million here and there, and it's like that's a grab bag of money for them versus you talking about 5 million, and I don't even want to know how much that game costs to develop at this point. If I'm just thinking, it's at least 100 million going from the PS3 demo to now, as far as just paying people to continually work on it. That's at least 100 million.
If you think about it too, all the Final Fantasies, they gotta cost a crazy amount of money because they do this over the top thing where they make movies and like shows and stuff like that to try and build up the hype around the actual game. Yeah, and I mean, 15 had one, Kingslayer. It might have even had 2 for 15 itself, and they got to be using part of that for part of the budget to just keep those games going.
Yeah, that's just absolutely insane. You're saying 5 million copies, and we live in a world where Animal Crossing sold 30 million copies in 9 months at $60 a pop. The price still hasn't went down for that game. Still $60.
That's ridiculous.
So, let's just for SNGs, I'm gonna go ahead and let's put this back up here again. So let's do the math here. So let's just assume that 5 million copies, right? 5 million. And we're going to multiply it times 60, right?
Yep.
Let's just assume that every Final Fantasy Remake game was sold at 70,
60.
Right?
Yeah, at 70.
70? So let's just assume $70, right? So we're talking here that you might have, I'm guessing that's going to be 35 million, if I'm not mistaken. I have to count the zeros here, but so bear with me for being blind and old. It says that would be 350 million.
Yeah.
So they would have, for them to even come close, all of those copies will have to be sold at $70. So did they get there? Versus let's see here.
Now,
That's what Animal Crossing sold in 9 months.
it looks like it says there's a couple different unconfirmed answers, but it looks like it says that Final Fantasy cost somewhere between 45 million to produce and 200 million. So if you made 350 million, you made only about 100 million.
Yep.
That's
depending on the price.
That's
versus this looks like 1.8 billion right here to me. That's what it looks like to me in cash.
That's ridiculous, man.
From one game. Yeah, there are entire franchises that haven't made that much money. And one game did that on Nintendo Switch. So it's like, how do you even think? And so this is a small company we talking about with a small market cap that's only worth $12 billion, I believe, at this point in time. And they're over here just earning $1 billion in less than a year. And y'all over here struggling with hundreds of millions, and you're dealing with budgets of hundreds of millions at any one go.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense to me. How could you be developing games with expensive budgets like this, and you don't plan on recouping it any way, shape, or form? It just doesn't sound like they're even trying to think it out at this point. So, no. I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of staggering. 1.8. It was $1.8 billion from, supposedly a family game. Supposedly it was only a pandemic game, but it's the year of our Lord 2022, and that game's still selling. So,
so my question is, let's say this path keeps going. Square is continuously getting in trouble. They have to they get to a point where they got to sell off all their franchises to even stay afloat from bankruptcy, or they get bought out. What option? And if you're choosing getting bought out, who do you think would take them?
Everybody's saying Sony, but honestly, I'm gonna go with my original reply to John from ShadowCast. It can be any random venture capital firm, just like these guys. That just bought the rest of what Square was selling. It doesn't have to necessarily be a gaming company. They slide in and out all the time and buy all these assets, and they don't care or know what it is. They'll just hold on to it, see if it has any value, and then sell it to somebody else who wants to buy it later.
Yeah, that's true.
So that essentially that's what would probably happen, I would imagine. Because I'm going to put it this way. Nintendo's right down the street, and they're not going to touch them.
No.
They're not going to touch it. Even if, and it seems like, a lot of the grudges over the years have obviously been broken at this point. But Nintendo doesn't. They're quicksand, man. They're not going to touch them. They're like, dude, you guys are bleeding profit. We're not going with that. Give us original games for our little. We'll take whatever little projects you have. Use your little stamp on it or whatever, so you can say a Square game is on our system. Port a couple of your old games to our system, and we'll go from there. Like, we're not going to be involved in, and don't come to us saying, hey, look, we'll put Final Fantasy 15 on Switch if you help us develop it. No, Nintendo's not doing that. They're not going to pay for it. So that's just one of those things where Sony is just super gullible, and they're like, yeah, we'll take it. We'll pay for all the development and everything. Go ahead. Yup. And I'm like, at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay to keep the lights on the entire time that you're building this game. So
yeah, and that's the problem I'm thinking, because like you said, I don't even know if Nintendo would even grab some franchises from them. I think they'd be like, nah, we're good on that. I
Yeah.
don't think we want anything. But like, they got the Bravely defaults. Like I said earlier, Dragon Quest always seems to do better on. I don't think they'll grab them. I think they'll just let
No.
them be like,
They'll
sorry,
let them
we don't
die
want
because they're not willing to. Nintendo will buy platinum before they even buy anything from Square at
them.
this point. They would
Yeah.
just buy platinum outright.
And they've got so it's a shame because Square Enix, I mean, like if you even look in their backlog, we talk about it all the time, games do they don't have the Xeno license, but it would almost come
Xenogears, they
yeah,
still have the
gears.
publishing license for.
Yeah, see, it would almost come back home if Nintendo were even to take that and make a remake out of that or
Yep.
remaster out of that. That would be nice. But like games like Legend of Dragoon are still with Sony. I think they still
Yeah,
own
that's
the
Sony.
license to that.
Sony paid for that whole thing, so
What's the other one? Parasite Eve. They
yep,
own that. Square owns that license, right?
yep.
It
Lost
ain't.
the time.
Yeah, it ain't going nowhere.
So it's just one of those weird things. Like the Dark Void said here, yeah. Like Animal Crossing still selling. Mario Kart 8 almost at 40 million. Yeah, yep. And Mario Kart 8 is a Wii U project.
hmm
Wii U
Yeah,
project.
I would prefer, like you said, some like law firm or something like that to just take them. Um, it would be unfortunate because it is Square Enix and they were so big, in the early 2000s and the 90s and stuff like that. Chrono Trigger, games like those are amazing games, but
Yep.
you just they're a company that's just bleeding way too much money and nobody's gonna willing I don't even well definitely even Microsoft who's got money to spare all over. I don't think they might grab a franchise. You might get Outriders. You might get something a little more
I don't
Western.
even, man. They don't have anything. I don't know if they have anything worthwhile, to be honest with you.
Oh, oh,
It's just Dragon Quest, really.
Blue. What was the game for the
Blue
360?
Dragon.
Blue Dragon. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was that was a great game, but I don't. Microsoft ain't taking that. There's no Blue Dragon 2. They ain't taking that.
Yeah, it's just strange. You know, and you would figure that a company whose main franchise started as an FU to the gaming industry because they thought they were dying, hence the name Final Fantasy. How they wouldn't recognize that the same thing is happening again to their platform, so or to their business. We got here. Right. NOTs was a dumb decision. Yeah. I mean, you got to appease the investors. They want you to be transformative, and that's the new trend. So yeah, they want you to do that. So yeah, a lot of NOTs in the game, DRM to cost money. Yes. Yes, there's no point for any of this foolishness. If the companies had better business models, they would not need to attempt using blockchain, which is more about yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, this is just a thing. I guess it's talking about Square since 2005. Not much, yeah.
No. And it's a shame because I'm hype. I'm still pretty hyped for Forspoken. Like I said, it's got to be a game that comes out. We'll see because we haven't seen anything since that last trailer. And while that trailer was amazing, I mean, they did the same thing with Kingdom Hearts 3. So
We've had Elden Ring since then too.
yeah,
So
that's true.
like you can't just hey we have this and then now a whole game has come out who has shown hey look this is what it is going to look like and then the
Mm-hmm.
game comes out and it's like oh yeah this is this
Mm-hmm.
and it's not disappointing nobody because the people that are looking for this is it
And
now you've got your game which is like oh we're going to push it back.
it makes it it actually put them in a it put them in a worse spot because not only do you have a game like Elden Ring which Forspoken looks like, but Forspoken is a Magic game, and you got Harry Potter coming out in the holiday just like Forspoken. So
Yep.
now you got to deal with another, and between the two, Harry Potter is going to be the one that gets bought more because it's Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Way
Star
bigger
Wars
franchise.
Yeah. So now you got you got to deal with the Harry Potter side of things. So you got it's Elden Ring meets Harry Potter, but it's worse than both of them. It's not.
Yep. Andre, quit, dude. You exposing me, bro. Like, so how you gonna do a discussion on pushing the industry for? Okay, you're probably gonna end up doing a video. I'm pretty sure, and with a lot of detail. Which, yeah, it's a thing, man. I've been seeing this for the longest time with people saying, "Hey, look, what we get what they're saying. Push the industry forward. They're just talking about graphics. That's all they're talking about."
Mhm.
And I'm like, at this point, the games themselves they can't magically make the hardware more capable.
No.
They'll just take advantage of what's there. And if that's the case, you can take advantage of what's there for every platform. Which means that, hey, maybe we should have either longer generations or more capable development studios that aren't so reliant on third-party engines, and they build their own engines and write their own machine code to do certain things to make things work.
Yep.
And then we wouldn't have these issues and people talking about this game won't run. I'm like, no game runs on a console, bro. You have to completely recompile code and build a different version of the game for the target system that you're going to be porting to. So it doesn't run because it's not a PC. It doesn't work that way.
Now that you say that, it makes me wonder, because all these companies are going to, even Square especially is going to, like Unreal Engine and stuff like that, to be able to make their games. What is that? Because Nintendo has a lot of their own in source engines.
Yep.
But a company like Square owns Luminous Engine,
and they're diverting to another. They're proving their own failure.
What does that say about your own developers if you have an engine in house and you can't even get it right? Like,
yeah.
I guess we see the same thing with CG. Well, CD Project Red was a little bit different. That engine wasn't made to do first person like that, and I think that's where they.
Yeah, it was the same engine for Witcher, was it not?
Yeah,
it was Red Engine 3 or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, they tried to shoehorn that in there, and Gwen's called me out here. He says 16 is single player. I forgot what the trailer looks like. That was so long ago. So 16 is not the multiplayer one. That's the single player. So if they're switching numbers now, so 16 is going to be the new 12. Then I guess what is this going to be? The new 18 will be the new MMO, I guess. I don't know what numbering system.
I know what you're talking. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
If there is one. But if 16 is single player, then I mean that's just a new Final Fantasy. That's gonna be the numbered sequel after 15, I guess, which is fine. I mean, Final Fantasy 8 wasn't MMO either, neither was 10. So
right.
Matter of fact, 11 was the which is the irony. So I mean, it could be 17. Who knows?
It was 11.
Yeah. So it just jumped to 14, which was kind of weird. I guess I don't know. They just pick whatever they want to do. So like, it's just a weird. I don't know why they just don't call it Final Fantasy MMO.
Right.
It's just weird. Darth Wesker the Collector. Hello there. Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you stopping by.
What up? What up?
Make sure you like and subscribe. All of y'all get the likes up. I don't even know what the like count is. That's fine, well and good, but I appreciate y'all stopping by. But make sure y'all get the likes up. And Ray pointed something else out here. Always following trends. Yes, you would think that older guys with briefcases and portfolios and wads of cash in said portfolios would know a thing or two about following trends, and they should know a thing or two about what they're investing in. But somehow they just all fail up somehow. I mean, it's just one of those things where no matter what they do, they're still successful. Go figure.
The one thing I can't understand is that while Square Enix has these smaller games that do so well on the Switch, why is there nobody asking that question? Why has the question still not been asked? Like, hey, Switch is at over what 115 million sold. Like, are we taking advantage of that? Like, how are we taking advantage of that outside of these small games? Are we putting the big games on there? Like, and I wonder if they just get a business answer back. So it was like, okay, well, that kind of didn't answer my question.
So short of me going to the pessimistic black hole, black pill answer of I don't want to be the ultra pessimist to it, but it benefits all third parties that that Nintendo goes away. And I mentioned this before in I guess it was a comment thread to one of our other videos or whatever. But I watched a older video from a while ago that I had been saying this for the longest time in like forum threads and nobody listened. But Dr. Trey put out a video some years back, and it was about why Grand Theft Auto 5 wasn't on Wii U. And he went down the same line, same rabbit hole I went down. It was all business ties and people pissing each other off. And they hold that grudge. You would be surprised how long one studio will brand their pettiness over time. It's insane. And whether it was both sided or not, I don't know. But we do know inherently Rockstar North, to this day, it's not fucking with Nintendo like that.
That's so weird.
If you see a port of any of their games, it's not them doing it.
Right.
It'll be like Rockstar in Montreal or somebody else porting the game, and then Rockstar North will stamp their name on it or whatever after the fact. Rockstar Table Tennis was not done by Rockstar North on Wii. So these are the things that like these small little business situations are weird, and it kind of got a lot of people. I don't know how to say this other than I am willing to, as a quote unquote Nintendo fanboy that never says anything bad about Nintendo, I'm willing to admit that during the fourth and the beginning of the fifth generation, Nintendo was horrible. They ruled the gaming industry with an iron fist. They had third parties literally under their thumb. You had to follow their rules or get out. They're like, hey, look, we rescued this business because y'all were doing all this foolishness. Here are our rules, or you don't get to publish a game. Oh, Tenjin, you're over here just skirting our rules? Okay, cool, lawsuit. And that's just, and it was real bad. Like they were hammering people down, and it was so bad. And then the people that figured out certain things, yeah, it sounded kind of nice and cool during the time, but publishers like Rare and stuff like that, it got jobs within Nintendo because it was either we hire you because you reverse engineered our stuff, or we sue you. So Nintendo decided, hey, look, well, yeah, these guys are really talented or whatever. They seem to be more talented with our hardware than we are. Let's see what they can do. And Rare started publishing mad games for the NES, and later the Super NES, and go from there. But no, they were ruthless during the fourth and fifth generation. So. And I'm fairly sure that none of those publishers have forgotten, regardless of who's there now. They have it on record that they don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like it's in a safe in the CEO's office, and when he steps down, he's like, "I want you to take a look at this paper." And they open up, and rule number 1 is, don't mess with Nintendo.
We cannot let them be lead platform ever again. and that's what they know. Like if the successor to Switch comes out or if Switch in 2017 launched with not only NBA 2K, not only Skyrim, but Grand Theft Auto 5, Madden, every Final Fantasy game, like you just all the catalogs all the way up to 15. All of the Call of Duty games, like, and they're launching day and date with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, just like they're just coming out, and these are definitive ports. Like they actually have a studio in house, like at these publishers building these games. They're not sending them to a port house. Or better yet, the Switch becomes lead platform. So you have NetherRealm Studios making Mortal Kombat specifically for Switch. They're not calling Saber Interactive or whoever else, hey, can you port this game for us? No, the game was built with Switch in mind, and then they port to PS4. And if that happened, like nobody would ever.
It would have been.
And they know
the streets.
They know it. So, and then it would be to the point where the only difference would be, yeah, when I do plug up to the TV, I can play in 1080p on the other systems. That's the only difference. And to be honest, all intents and purposes, a lot of these games you could probably play 1080p docked on Switch too if they took the time. A lot of these games were rushed for the most part because the main goal is make sure you can play it handheld mode first.
Right.
And then they're like, well, it doesn't break when we put it in dock mode, so we can ship it. Go. And go from there. So, I mean, you'll be surprised how many games are 720p and they didn't have to be docked. So it's just one of those things. If you don't have enough time, you're not going to have enough time to deal with it. And Andre called me out again. He says Tomb Raider was exclusive to 360. So, that makes sense.
That reminds me.
6 months. I remember those timed exclusive things. That was weird.
This is
a weird time.
This is a real interesting question because they had just when did the Unreal Engine 5 when did that showcase? Like 3 weeks ago? A month ago?
Yeah, the last update was a couple of weeks ago.
Did they not just say the next Tomb Raider was going to be on Unreal Engine 5?
I'm not sure about that one. I can look it up.
I felt like,
I mean, the demo was basically Tomb Raider anyway. They just kept showing all those little things that look. I see a couple of YouTube videos talking about it, and apparently IGN made a video about it. Polygon is saying it. I don't know who. I hear this, but these guys, when they publish these stories, they're trying to generate some buzz. So,
right.
Let's see here. Let's see what it says. Jesus Christ, I really hate these pop-ups. Low cost adventure. Now development, Crystal Dynamics. I mean, with what money? Y'all just got sold. Developer said the next Tomb Raider game we built using Epic Games' newly launched Unreal Engine 5 to deliver next. Okay. So Crystal Dynamics confirmed this Tuesday. Let's see what the source is. Twitter? Jesus Christ. Okay. This is their video, so I guess we could play the video if it will play the audio. My dude paused for applause.
Oh, here it is. I found it.
Yeah, so that was there, and that's a weird looking.
It's
like
cue it to. Are you on the How long is that one?
That one was, I mean, it's like a couple seconds. It was 46 seconds.
Okay, I was gonna say if it's the oh, yep, that's the one right there. Yeah. So I mean, they basically just say it. They don't really show off anything.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we all knew it was coming anyway because Unreal Engine 5 was basically showing you Tomb Raider. They just
Mm-hmm.
had some nondescript female character walking through the same type of environments,
Yep.
climbing the same way and all the other kind of foolishness. I'm just sitting there looking like,
Rocks.
yeah,
Rocks.
like okay, it was only a matter of time. So, but it's cool to see in real time that these are, you know, whatever, these are facts.
They'll use
But,
that same math pack.
that dude is he's like, yeah, we're announcing it's going to be for Unreal Engine 5. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, it's not, nobody's cheering after that. Stop.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Bunch of people saying the game was a timed exclusive for the 360. Dark Voice said he wished that Tomb Raider and Rise would have came to the Switch. Those games, all three of those games run surprisingly well on really old hardware.
Tomb Raider has never been on a Nintendo console, has it?
Tomb Raider Legend, I think it was on GameCube. It was either Tomb Raider Legend or another Tomb Raider Chronicles, I think, was on GameCube.
Oh, you're right.
And that was like late GameCube life. I think like 2005, 2006. Like it was just like, bro, the Wii is coming out, and they're like, hey, we got this GameCube game.
Yep. Tomb Raider.
Other than that, yeah, they were rare. They were rare on Nintendo platforms. So there was a rumor about one coming out for the Nintendo 64, but that never. I don't think that was ever even in development. Had the reboot trilogy came to the Switch, Square Enix might make that. Yeah, you're right.
Probably.
Yeah, put Tomb Raider there and go. Like people would have played it.
Had any of Square Enix old titles came to the Switch, they probably would have made money back.
And I don't want to hear the it can't run. You can, even if let's just make the argument that they don't take the time to actually port this game and develop brand new code for it, right? Mm-hmm. Which they would have to do in some way, shape, or form. Right. Let's just say that Switch was a computer and you can just take the PC version and put it on there and have it run. If the Switch was running Windows and running Tomb Raider, right? There are equivalent PCs out here that get this game running 540p or what have you. Pretty decent amount of effects on it, running pretty smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might have some dips on the 30 here and there, but all you have to do is just look at like low end PC Gamer, any of those other guys on YouTube, whatever. They have all kinds of little setups. I've tested it myself on this very computer, believe it or not, on one of my older GPUs, and I was just trying to see if I can just get it to run. Now Tomb Raider, the third one is really demanding on VRAM, so you had to have at least 2 gigs of VRAM to be able to run that game. And even at 2 gigs of VRAM, you'll run out of memory a lot because it's expecting 4 or more in a lot of sections in that game. But I was able with 2 gigs of RAM on the older GPUs, like we're talking like small shell GPUs or whatever. I'm able to get like pretty good, like 30 frames per second, lower than like 720p, maybe a little bit lower than 720p sometimes in that game, and that's with running Windows. So if you develop the game directly for Switch and there's no Windows, it's just firmware.
Mm-hmm.
You think? I mean, just common sense at this point. It's just basic computer science. What do you think? Do you think the results will be better or worse? Just saying.
It'll be worse because it's not powerful enough.
Oh yeah, clearly. I mean, just saying. Just saying at that point. And I know then at that point now you have to think about battery life and stuff like that too. So you got to make more concessions. But that's whatever. If they built the game for Switch from the ground up, it wouldn't be an issue. Mm-hmm. I mean, that can be done. See, I'm coming here. Still thinking about how Iwata told third parties the path they were going down was unsustainable, and they ignored him. So many developers lost since then. So many dead IPs. Yes, pretty much all the and I don't even blame the AA or the B team projects for failing. It was the AAA projects that weren't bringing in enough money, so they killed those other studios, so they wouldn't kill the AAA studio.
ones. Yep,
that's what ended up happening.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people like, oh yeah, those other games like Darksiders and stuff like that didn't really get a shot. Yeah, because THQ was putting other stuff out that wasn't hitting. So they're gonna blame, you know, whatever mid-range game that they put out and go from there.
And that sucks because Activision had one of my favorite games, and I can't even look back there. Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2, and you would never, a person today, if you weren't in our little age group, you would have never known they made a card action game. Like,
yeah, you know, so funny about that. Those same people, the only thing they will talk to you about is Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Elden Ring, and I'm like, they made other games. They made a card battle game called Lost Kingdoms. It's called Rune in Japan.
That game is so much fun.
Yep. From Software. Look at that. Look at them building stuff. Look at them supporting Nintendo at one point.
Yeah.
I thought Nintendo
I thought they re-upped on Geist.
I thought they reestablished all their trademarks to include Geist and Eternal Darkness. I know In Space is gone. They've divested, but I'm pretty sure that franchise is still around, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not gonna. If we can Google all these, we'll be here all night. But I do want to look into that so we can figure out what the story is with that game. But yeah, it's just really strange how like they're not understanding, they're not seeing the forest for the trees here. Andre mentioned something about the HG2D games, and I'm like, that was your way out, and you're still like, nope, let's make these big ass games. And oh my God, the big games aren't selling. Whatever will we do?
James Gleason said, "We don't need Grand Theft Auto. What we need is more True Crimes." Was True Crimes Activision? Or were they Rockstar too?
I think True Crime was Activision at the time.
Yeah, well, I like.
It was either Activision or THQ, one of them.
I like True Crimes better than.
Yeah. So, like, True Crime to me did everything better. I think I was more partial to the driving in GTA though.
Yeah.
But the combat, everything else was better in True Crime. Shooting was better in True Crime.
It was Activision.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. I even like the soundtrack better, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They had picked a pretty good track list for that soundtrack. I'm just saying, Cell, Bravely Default, Octopath. I said it already on Twitter anyway. I said the people that made those games, they're just gonna jump ship anyway. Like if Square just said, you know what, we're shuttering our doors, we're bankrupt, and they go from there, like they'll just go to Nintendo, or there'll be a second party Nintendo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they'll form up their own team and be like, hey, we bought these franchises before we left, so
they'll be the new Brownie Brown.
Yeah.
They'll do whatever they gotta do. A lot of comments about Final Fantasy 14. Another 5 million Switch sales, and Capcom will release it. Man, come on, man. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with Capcom too.
Cloud. I feel like Cloud is solely for the Japanese wave.
Like, so you're talking about the Nintendo hate. So yeah, it was before GameCube though. It was just more vocal since Nintendo had a product out at the time that could be criticized. Even during N64 time, it couldn't be criticized because Nintendo still had a hold over some of those Western third parties because they were part of the Dream Team. All the loose lips didn't start happening until GameCube came out.
Yeah, the lunchbox.
Yep.
and then the Kitty Wii and
purple lunchbox.
mhm,
I mean, they were really hating them behind the scenes during probably the Super Nintendo era,
mhm.
because they were starting to learn. Hey, look, we kind of got screwed during the NES, and we hear Sony is since Nintendo's not doing this CD thing, Sony's coming to us and they're pitching us. They're saying, hey, look, we'll pay for your licensing fees and all this other kind of stuff. And they're like, Nintendo never did that with us, and all those kind of things are happening. So they're seeing that the grass is greener and they could just go about and do whatever. So yeah, they probably were secretly hating them probably during the fifth generation going into the during the fourth generation going into the fifth. So
It's interesting though. Still though, is that there are companies who never really mess with Nintendo in that capacity, but then you got it's weird because then you got companies who still mess with Nintendo in that capacity, like Ubisoft. But then you got companies that mess with them somewhat, but they kind of don't mess with them. But they want to mess with them enough to be like, yeah, we mess with y'all. We friends. We're friends. But really, they not like real friends. Like like Bandai Namco, for example. Like we have not gotten a Soul Calibur game since I couldn't tell you when. But they make Pokken tournament and they help out with Smash and you
like what are these decisions like? I don't know if those and a lot of the times we think those decisions are Nintendo led. Third parties are going to Nintendo.
mhm.
Like the whole situation with Mario Rabbids, that was Nintendo wasn't shopping that. Ubisoft was like, hey, can we use Mario? We have this idea. And Nintendo's like, okay, I guess, sure. So, it's strange. Like you will figure that if they're so eager to lean forward and do something like that, then they would do it with their main projects as well. And it's almost like they don't want to because it's an image thing at this point. Okay, Brand Smith put a question out, says, hey, would making Switch lead platform make it easier for developers? The people who ported Warframe were able to make improvements to all versions thanks to Switch optimizations. Yes.
Yeah, I would. You got to think about it too. If you start up here, you starting with your PCs or let's even put PlayStation and Xbox Series X for the argument. If you start up here and you're developing for those and you have to work your way down every time just to throw stuff out, it takes so much more work and so much more time to try and take out and see what fits. Okay, this didn't fit, so we got to put that back in. Let's see if this fits. If you just start down here and build up from there, it is so much easier because you already know what your vision is by the time you get to the top instead of starting at your vision and just slowly taking stuff out.
I'll just for shits and giggles, just on capacity's sake, right? Say you're building a game, you're done developing the game. The entire size of the game while the game is running fills up about 2.5 gigs of RAM, right? If that's the case, if you start with Switch as your project and 2.5 gigabytes of RAM is your memory budget while the game is running, would you or would you not be able to then take that same budget, put it on another platform, and then have it run within that same budget? Hey, 720p on Switch, 2.5 gigs, 720p on PS4, PS5, same 2.5 gigs, I would imagine. Depending on the memory management on that system or whatever, it may be a little bit more or a little bit less, but it's not going to be significant. It's not going to all of a sudden magically now require 12 gigs of RAM, right?
Right.
Just thinking about that more than anything else, is just a little bit easier that way. And then you can easily add to instead of taking away, if there's extra horsepower or what have you to do other things on those other platforms. Versus, hey, we have this game that we built just for PS5 and now we want to put it on Switch. And we made that game with all that horsepower and we probably didn't know what we were doing. We didn't maximize everything we were doing on PS5. So now we've got a whole bunch of CPU code over here doing things that didn't need to be done by the CPU. And now we want to take all of those 16 threads and put them on Switch, and it's not going to go.
Mm-hmm.
When you realize, hey, a lot of those threads were timing threads and they're just sitting there. You don't need that because there's a whole SDK that Switch has to where it manages threads. So why would you need to? Stuff like that can be taken out.
And happened with Witcher.
Yeah, I point to that all the time. Like if you the Witcher, it's so funny because these are all things that I've been saying well before the Witcher postmortem came out. These are all things that developers have been saying candidly when asked in interviews, and it's usually glossed over. They're just like, yeah, we had to do this, and then we found out that, hey, this system does this way, and this is why it was built this way. So we took all that out because why have that? And then we could still run our code. Like they literally cut massive amounts of threads from the original Witcher 3 game because you didn't need them. Switch works in a completely different way. Why do you need audio threads when there's a DSP on the system? Send everything to the DSP. Let it run. Guess what? Now you have five free threads to run. You don't need all that anymore. And now all of a sudden you can run almost the entire game off one CPU core. Go figure. It's just just the strangest things when you actually sit down and you try. Like, yeah, it's just bewildering to me. So I was going to talk about the whole memory situation again, but we're almost at an hour and a half right now at this point. We're still on, but it's just crazy because the third party situation, it's been this way for a long time. And it's been this way for a long time because, honestly, they want it to be this way, regardless of how bad they know it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question then at that point is there a goal to succeed, or is there a goal to continue doing what they're doing until they fail, and then the CEO just leaves and they become the CEO at, wherever. They can go back to Goldman Sachs or Chase or whatever and leave, and then all those investors go there too, because they don't really, a lot of the people at the very, very top don't really care about the business itself. They care about, hey, are we making strides with regards to dividends for investors at the end of every 3 months? That's all they really care about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The people that actually own the studio and are trying to make sure that the lights are on every month, those are the people that actually care, and they hardly ever get what they want. So, and a lot of times we say, you'll hear, especially around Nintendo circles, you hear lazy developers is, I want to reiterate and I want to make this clear. The majority of the time, the issue is not a lazy developer. The majority of the time, it's the publisher not funding them. There's stuff that they want to do. Crysis was running on Wii U, and EA said no.
Mm-hmm.
That's work that somebody took, months probably to make this game run, and it never saw the light of day because execs at EA were being petty.
Mm-hmm.
You have developers that want to tackle things like this, that hey, I want to do my first Switch project or whatever, and their claim to fame for it was dumping a bunch of code that doesn't run well on it. They never got the time to sit down and figure out how this thing really works. So, because they didn't have the time. And they had a budget. They're working with a small team that's a poorhouse for a big publisher that's like, hey, the other versions are shipping in 6 months. And you're like, but they started development on those 3 years ago. Yeah. And y'all just started yesterday. Go. So it's never really the individual guys that are sitting in front of keyboards putting code in. It's all the middle managers, it's all the budget managers, it's all the publishing guys, and that at the end of the day, it's always going to be the publisher's fault, because if if the developer doesn't have enough time to maximize on that platform, that means they didn't have enough money and time, which means that somewhere along the line, project management wasn't done to make sure these guys can meet their deadlines and their milestones before the end of this project.
Why do you think they're so happy when Nintendo starts publishing stuff?
Yeah. I mean, you would figure that these publishers would know how to publish. These guys are putting games on Switch and they're not making physical copies. You're a publisher. That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
Publish. Make sure it is available to the largest audience possible. You can't sit here and say, hey, we have this game that literally everyone plays, Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto or whatever, and we're just going to overlook over 100 million people. You're not publishing if that's the case. You're not doing your job
ridiculous.
As a publisher.
That's ridiculous. Especially when not to mention there's nobody else in that market on that side doing anything similar to you. All you have is call it. Who else is there? Battlefield. EA is not making games for Battlefield on the Switch. There's nobody to fight.
You have no competition. You have no competition. So I mean, say what you will, but I feel the same way about 2K as well, because you can put the basketball game on there, but you can't tell Rockstar North, hey, you get your fucking shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Because your most popular game that you guys make, y'all gotta make sure it goes on this most popular platform here.
They haven't even moved Red Dead over there.
And if you don't say that in 2017, why aren't you saying it in 2018? And if you don't say it in 2018, why aren't you saying it in 2019? And if you don't say it in 2019, why aren't you saying it in 2020 after you saw what Animal Crossing did? And if you aren't saying it in 2020, why the fuck weren't you saying it in 2021?
I don't get it, man.
How, Sway? How?
I don't get it. Both their sports games, but they can't move over a main franchise like that. Even if you don't want to move over your main franchise, just make Bully make Bully 2 for Switch and just call it good.
I am done with a lot of these people, because you can't then say there isn't talent, and you can't say there aren't existing working options for this, because we're talking about games that exist for iPhone and other mobile applications.
Yep.
So you're able to shoehorn it on an iPhone, an older iPhone, if you will, at that. But you don't have the talent available to make it available for Switch. I mean, these are the things, man. These are the things that you can't make sense of this. You can't. There's no way. Like, it's good that they finally said, you know what? Okay, look, man, they had almost at 100 million units. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll put the Grand Theft Auto collection on there. And I'm like, okay, cool. That was clearly a publishing thing. Like, 2K is like, okay, we got to do something. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But why is Rockstar North still able to hide behind their basically their pettiness at this point? I mean, cool, man. Space Station Silicon Valley, cool. That's fine. DMA design, that's cool. I mean, but are you really winning though?
Right. Not really.
Are you really winning? Are you really going to tell? Like, what is the excuse? Are you really going to tell 100 million people that your PS3 game can't run on Switch? Your late PS3 game that's on every other platform.
And that excuse doesn't, we used to hear that excuse all the time, early in the Switch life. It's like, oh, it's not powerful enough. It's not powerful. We even got it from Bandai Namco with, Infamous for Kakarot, oh, it can't run. And then the numbers came in and it's like, oh, well,
oh, well, the game world's too large, and I'm just like,
we figured out the sauce.
Is the Switch more or less capable than the Wii U? And they're like, oh, well, it's clearly, but the Wii U was just super, super weak. And I'm like, oh, you ever play this game called Xenoblade Chronicles 8? Pretty
Well,
big game world.
That was different.
Pretty big. Pretty big. One of the largest game masses in gaming history.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, man. It's just really weird that it goes this way, and they say, hey, look, well, we need a platform that's gonna challenge our vision. I'm like, so why aren't y'all PC exclusive then?
Right.
It has the user base. You don't ever have to worry about the hardware being limited.
Mm-hmm.
PC exclusive game, go.
And if you want a real challenge, put it on Steam Deck.
Yeah. PC exclusive, Steam Deck only. Steam Deck, PC, go. Well, what had happened was, and Microsoft and Sony got real big checkbooks, so we can kind of bend a little bit, and therefore we can, I just, but not Nintendo because they don't pay nobody. Oh, because for them, you got to pay licensing fees like you're supposed to. You got to apply. You got to register your games just like you have to do with ESRB anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You got to actually develop for the hardware. You can't just throw nothing on there and just hope that it goes. I guess the most frustrating thing about all of this is, even with regards to, because I'm looking at how Xbox One's hardware was wasted at this point. That system had ESRAM, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the games, for the most part, just showed everything on the 8 gigs of DVR.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'm just at this point, I'm just like, what are y'all doing? And it's like, why would you waste the? I know you want to get a project out, right? But if you're quote unquote pushing gaming forward, and this is the hardware you say you need to do said things, the end result isn't showing how significant of a leap this hardware is. Where's the people that are doing the dedicated ray tracing on PS5 and Series X right now? How is that looking? We're talking about Unreal Engine 5, which completely undoes, like Andre said it in chat already, like it completely undoes the whole point of using RT cores on these two systems.
Mm-hmm.
The global illumination engine on that completely bypasses the ray tracing.
So let me ask you a question, because I kind of see some similarities here. Was this kind of the same situation where between the 360 and the PS3, where nobody really wanted to code for the cell processor? So
yes, so
instead they just dumped it over there and tried to make it work.
And you know what's so funny about that? They had no problems coding for the emotion engine in the 6th generation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times PS2 was lead platform, and then they ported up to GameCube and Xbox from there. So the PS2 was harder to program for, less capable, and was the lead platform for everything. And their excuse was, well, it's selling so well. And I'm like, but when we came out, that same logic didn't apply.
Mm-hmm.
Switch is dominating now. That same logic doesn't apply. Same concept, on paper, weaker hardware than the other two. It's selling a shitload, so you make your game for Wii and then you port up to the other platforms, right? Mm-hmm. You make your game for the Switch and then you port up, right? So if Sony has the weakest hardware, it's okay to port up.
Right.
they can still be lead platform. And we make all these articles and stuff to talk around how the hardware isn't less capable. We make up numbers to say that it's more capable than GameCube in one area.
Mm-hmm.
When every other area is significantly weaker. This damn thing didn't even transform in like polygons in hardware. It's done in software. But this is where we sit. So it's just strange seeing that those were the excuses over time. And I don't make these stances and these takes in a vacuum. It's not me just saying, oh, well, I'm limited to November. No, I'm looking at the history of what happened from 6th generation to now. And the logic ain't lining up, bro. It's not. It's not lining up. Like you said, PS3 had it was more complicated to develop for. It was easier for people to just say, hey, look, let's make a 360 game and go from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of Nintendo going with Wii again was because everybody knew what a GameCube was.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew how to make a game for GameCube. Okay, well, shit, we'll just come out with a GameCube that's a little bit more capable. We'll add some more stuff into it, add some more registers to it and whatnot. We solved the disc size problem.
I was just about to say, and y'all got a regular disc
being so little and whatnot. So we solved that. We added more RAM to the damn thing, and now we got a new control format. Oh, we don't like that. Oh, but there's a classic controller too if you want to use that. So all the problems are solved. Oh, well, it's too weak. We can't use it to do the thing that we want to do. I'm sorry. Didn't y'all just make another PS2 FIFA game? Y'all just made one. Y'all just put another one out. Y'all put out 2 more FIFA games for PS2 after we came out. So we can't talk about whether the hardware is capable or not, whether you want to continue to develop for the old SD consoles, because you were clearly fucking doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So why, all of a sudden, all the excuses, the start screen couldn't even show up on the Wii if we tried to port, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's a JPEG, bro. This is what we doing? This is really what we doing? Resident Evil 5 just couldn't. Take the game, 480p. Oh, look at that. Look at that. If you just change the resolution, oh, Jesus. All of a sudden, all the assets don't require as much RAM. Oh, look at that. Not as many pixels on screen. All kind of things can happen.
That's crazy.
All you have to do is just do the math. Just sit there and you're like, hey, look, we just can't. There's no way we can take this 360 game and put it on the Wii. It's just not going to work. And then Activision was like, you know what? This motherfucker is making a lot of money. Hold my beer.
I'm dropping everything.
Hold my beer. The entire Modern Warfare campaign. Cutscenes and all. Whole thing.
And it ended up being the best one out of all of them.
And then right after that, Wii U comes out and they're like, we don't know if we can continue making these for Wii U for insert reason here. And it's, because their vision, their vision or whatever. And their vision is, I don't know, continue to be extremely expensive, continue to be 300 gigs of space. I'm like, boy, damn, you buy a PS4, you can't even play no games on that thing. Drive full already. You spend the majority of the time deleting games. So, like, these stories right here, they're not telling at all. This is what was always going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We saw all of them die before.
Don't be surprised more go.
They're going to keep on happening. Why do you think the acquisitions are happening? The acquisitions aren't happening because Microsoft wants to be more powerful.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers have nowhere to go. And their games were expensive and they can't afford it.
Darth Weskers, the collector, he was spot on this. He said most of the third-party companies are looking for short-term success using trends which is temporary. Long-term success is usually using your IPs and keeping their consistency with innovation, and that is why Nintendo can keep at $60 even still with Breath of the Wild. It's because they know how to rock the trends. They know how to keep it. Splatoon.
That's what's so insane to me. Is because they have the IPs. They have them. They could do it. Capcom has Mega Man and Resident Evil. If you want to go all the way back, you start talking about Breath of Fire and stuff like that. You know, Street Fighter. They have the IPs to make it happen. Why do they continuously want to blow money and not make any return off of it? Like, that's just really frustrating me. Call of Duty is an insane intellectual property. Why in the hell would it not be on the fastest selling console of all time? No console has sold to 100 million this quick.
Not a single one.
And I've yet to see a headline say that either.
There's not even a single version of Call of Duty. Yeah, I mean, not a
Isn't
remake,
that strange?
remaster. That's just.
Isn't that strange? Call of Duty is on your phone, but it's not on Switch. Isn't that strange?
It might be different now that Microsoft.
Yeah, they mention it. So,
they're not scared to get money.
And it shouldn't take that though. That's what's so frustrating. Microsoft, obviously, there's no love lost for them in Nintendo. And I mentioned this in another podcast too. It's just the third parties that really have it out for Nintendo like this. Sony and Microsoft want to keep Nintendo around. It helps them.
Yep. That's entry level for them.
The last time Microsoft was talking about going at Nintendo was OG Xbox. They learned that lesson real quick. So that was either Seamus. It was either Seamus or Bill Gates saying that Nintendo would be dead within a year. That was a long time ago, but I need to find that quote. But that was a thing, and it was said Nintendo would be dead within a year. That was in 2001.
And you see, they like to follow the trends, whether they're big or small. They always try to keep their eyes on the trends that Nintendo is setting. I know a lot of people don't want to admit that, but coming from Microsoft and coming from Sony, I think Microsoft is a little, I won't say more open about it, but they're a little more what's the word I'm looking for? They are a little more accepting with being honest, being straightforward about, their trends. Motion controls came around.
Yep.
We're definitely going to come out with something like that too. We're going to make our own version. We're going to come out with something like that too. I would even with the OG Xbox One, Switch was really doing the whole TV thing, and they're like, you know what? They got some TV stuff. We're coming out with our own way of doing stuff with TV. Like, that's going to be a thing.
They did the TV thing. They did the smart glass thing because they didn't know if Wii U was going to take off. Obviously, Sony was doing that. Well, we can do transferring to the PSP.
Oh, that was such a horrible name.
We can transfer to the Vita.
Transferring.
And I mean, that should have told you right then and there that they never count Nintendo out and they don't know what they're about to do. They don't know if it's going to blow up or not. And they want to be there. They want to have a prototype of something just in case it takes off.
Yep.
So, and Nintendo held Wii U so close to the vest. By the time people saw it, like people had heard rumors, but nobody ever saw it. And then it finally, once Cafe was revealed or whatever, then the clones started coming. They're like, oh, well, we can remote to a phone, or the Vita will work, so we can kind of make them talk to each other. And it's not going to be the same, man. That's an instantaneous. It renders on the gamepad before it renders on your TV. So there's never a delay.
Yep.
So it will never be the same experience. People have been trying for the longest time to get, like, you have your PS4 and your Vita literally right next to each other in the same room, and you can't, it's still going to lag.
Yeah.
So it's not the same experience. Yeah, Brad. He said even the Vita had a card game. Yeah. So we can take the old school SGX graphics card, Power VR graphics back in the day, and we can port Call of Duty to that.
Mm-hmm.
But Switch, nope.
So funny, man.
All them excuses, man. What did he say? He said folks still don't want to admit the PS2, as great as that console was for game, was still one of the best selling. Yes, that's why. At the time, that was the gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
That was the gimmick. As much as people like to say Nintendo is with gimmicks and whatnot, the DVD was the biggest gimmick for that generation.
Was the biggest gimmick.
Yeah. Chanel says, we'll go ahead and we'll do. If you guys have any more questions, we can go ahead and tap those out real quick. We'll go ahead and end this. This ShadowCast should not be this long. I typically do them kind of long, but not. I've been doing a couple of long ones almost 2 weeks in a row now, so I gotta start shortening them. I want to shorten them to like an hour if I can, but Chanel says, now I want to know if any console have not only sold 100,000 fast, but have multiple first-party titles selling 5 million as well as other than the Switch. Yeah, they're not doing it. The fastest selling console to 100 million before Switch was PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And PS4, like, those games weren't selling that good. They weren't. Like, the best selling game was Horizon, I believe, on PS4, and that was after all the sales, because it sold for like $5 every other Christmas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. Okay, so Dark Boy got one more question, and I guess we'll get out of here. We'll go from there. I said, what games am I expecting to be announced at the Summer Games Fest this summer? I don't know. I don't know how to really respond to that one. I'm not at this point, especially with everything that's happening now. I mean, it's anybody's guess at this point.
Yeah.
It depends on whether or not this company that just bought Eidos from and Crystal from Square, whether they're going to let them remain to be what they are right now. Because the majority of their announcements or whatnot, they're either going to be on hold or they're going to be in some type of limbo until they can get everything straight as far as who's going to fund what.
Yeah.
If those studios even survive the transfer, because they just bought those studios and they could close them and make them
one big one,
whatever they want.
Yeah.
They don't even have to make games anymore. You go there and it's a dog food plant now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one of those things. As far as games, I don't know. Microsoft's been holding everything pretty close to the chest, and they 17 studios they bought a couple years ago.
Yeah, I was just gonna say them studios got to show. I won't say they have to show, but them studios have to have something baking, whether it's ready or the pot is still stirring. They gotta have something.
I think it's good that they are holding close to the chest, though, provided that they aren't ready. Mm-hmm. I think that's because we don't want to have is another scale bound situation.
Right.
We don't want that. We don't want Craig Halo Infinite shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're gonna have to perform. If they show any of those games from any of those studios, I would definitely look into those. We're talking about Ninja Theory and it's a couple of.
I'm still curious about Perfect Dark.
That'll be interesting too to see. That's the collective, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see what they do.
The initiative. No.
The initiative. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's supposed to be Microsoft and Bethesda. So obviously you're gonna see what's the game that they got coming this year?
Starfield.
Yeah, Starfield.
I don't think we're gonna see. We're not gonna see Elder Scrolls 6.
Nah, I don't think so. If they show us something, it's gonna be like a still rendering of something, and
Yeah. I mean, it's good to know that it's on the way, but I think them showing anything from Elder Scrolls will probably cannibalize Starfield. So
yeah.
it's probably best that they don't really show anything from that.
What about a KI?
I don't know. Like Microsoft keeps saying like that was just a lightning in a bottle situation, and they would need all of that to happen again for there to be another KI, because it was originally like a Xbox Live Arcade game and it morphed into something completely different. So I don't know. I as a KI fan, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. To be honest with you. I mean, it looks great in 4K. But I don't think they're gonna. That game is so good the way that it is. I don't like. They would really have to step it up, like to 10, to even like be a reliable sequel, or even like if you decide to add more content, like how would you do that, and who would be the developers at this point? And what would be their philosophy as far as making sure the gameplay systems aren't broken,
right?
And that's a lot of fine tuning. They spent the better part of the entire console generation getting that game perfect. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I if they do something like that, that would be a surprise to me, because that would seem like that would be a whole lot of work to get behind and make happen.
Hey, never say never.
Yeah, never say never, but I'm gonna be the pessimist on that one.
I think if we get a Nintendo, well, let me stay on Microsoft real quick. I think Microsoft needs to throw out some rare titles. The thing is you can't go back. I don't think you can go back to Banjo Kazooie and games like those. Not to say that they haven't shown their age. I mean, they've definitely shown their age, but I feel like those titles for Rare, I feel like it's one of those situations where it's like, it's been a long time since you've seen your girlfriend or your ex-girlfriend. Like, do you really want to go back to her now? Type of deal.
I think that appeal, unfortunately, no matter what Microsoft does, is ultimately tied to Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I don't see them even doing Conquer right now, unless it's also a Nintendo Switch game.
Yeah.
At this point, I just don't really see them publishing saying Xbox Series exclusive Conquer's Bad Fur Day or Jet Force Gemini, and they don't graft on to the Nintendo audience on top of that. I don't see any of those remakes or whatever they decide to do. I don't see them performing. I just don't, because I don't think the core Xbox audience, I don't think is there. I think
they're not the same.
Yeah, they're gone. So Killer Instinct was lightning in a bottle. Also, it was a fighting game, which is an exclusive free fighting game for the system at launch. So that was one of those, that was a happy accident.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that game does as well as a $60 title 2 years after the Xbox One launched. I don't see that game doing that well. Just being completely honest with you. And I love that game. I love that franchise. I just don't think people would have took to it if it wasn't free on everybody's Xbox One with 2 characters or what have you, and B with rolling out the way that it did slowly over time. So there was so much hype every time some update happened that people were always trying to check it out. I don't think, like, if it was just a standalone game, the way it is now, as perfect as it is, a standalone game right now, and it came out in like 2015, 2016, I don't think that many people would have grafted onto it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Microsoft is they're in a weird situation. I don't know they've got a great product going as far as their backwards compatibility goes, because they really just said, I'm going to go all the way back to this green and black box and make all these things go. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty cool, short of some of the licensed games they can't fix as far as giving you the key to play those games. but a lot of the old original Xbox games, they work all the way up to Series X, which is pretty cool. So you can do that kind of stuff. I really want to see. Honestly, I won't mind seeing another Dance Central game. I said they need to bring that back. To be honest with you, Dance Central worked. Like it wasn't, like say what you will about Just Dance, like it gets people together, but Just Dance worked, man. Like you stand in front of that thing and you got to do the moves right.
Right.
So I don't know. I think something like that could work, especially if it comes out like around Christmas time or something, or
There's a couple games I feel like, well, Microsoft hasn't, I won't say they necessarily forgot about, but I feel like they've been sitting, well, some of them they forgot about.
Yeah.
But like, like Fable, that went through development hell for the longest time. And like, obviously we haven't heard anything about it just because I feel like that got canceled at some point in time and they just kind of swept that under the rug. But I wouldn't mind one of these 17 developers that they've acquired try to work on something that was Fable related, or hell, even back when they owned Lionhead, what was that game? Black and White.
Yeah.
Bring out an old franchise like that, like something that nobody remembers. Like, wait, is this new or is this something like that? Because I think because the one thing that I feel like people forget is that, like, while Microsoft doesn't have a bunch of front-facing titles, like just in your face titles, they've got a decent amount of IPs that just never show, and it's not like Sony where you get like the Legend of Dragoon situation where they're like, what is that? Like, I don't remember what that is. Microsoft is kind of more on like the Nintendo side, like, well, we can't think of anything new for that, so we still got it, but we're just not just going to throw it out there just because we think it may or may not make money. Like, it's actually got to do something for us. So
I thought of one while you mentioned that, and I think this game has a shot to come back and be great again. Microsoft.
Oh.
I mean, Xbox Live being what it is now, yeah, bring that game out, make it look real good and shiny.
Yeah,
and it's fast. It's fast paced. It's great. Like I would say, bring that, add some new game mechanic or whatever to it, and make it cool. I think that'll work really well.
They just got to do it though. That's the problem.
Yeah,
because if they can bring Battletoads back with Rare, even though it wasn't good, even though they can bring Battletoads back, I feel like they can just bring anything back at that point.
Yeah, that Battletoads game hurt me. But it's, at least they're back. So yeah, man, I don't. Yeah, it's kind of weird to say what Microsoft could do at this point because they own everything just about. The only other thing I can think of is I always envisioned the remake to be a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
The 2016 remake to be a trilogy. So whatever the third Doom game is,
yeah,
that could be something that Microsoft can kind of brag about, kind of stump their feet about. They could say exclusive if they want to, or timed exclusive, and ship to everything else after that. Because I'm pretty sure they don't want that game. Doom guy is iconic now. Like he's basically should get an amiibo. Yeah. So put them on every platform and go from there. You can claim exclusivity for however long you want to or whatever, and then put it on everything else after that.
Yep.
But I feel like that should be a trilogy. Just close it out and make it a trilogy. But that'll be good to see. Maybe that'll help. I think a little bit.
I think Bethesda is due for a Fallout 2, but I don't know how they do like Fallout versus Elder Scrolls. I don't know.
Well, it's going to be different now because they're doing Starfield too. So I don't know how they're going. Right. I don't know how they may not have. They may not have the resources to do all three of those at one time. We'll see. Right. I don't know because like Starfield apparently has been ongoing for a long time, so it may be ready to go kind of situation, and then it's Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout. So,
now the question is, because Microsoft is kind of one, like, even though they buy out studios, they kind of keep the studios within the games that they have. Do
Mhm.
you think they will ever push those games to a different studio because they own those franchises? Or are they like, no, Bethesda is just making like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, now Starfield, like that's theirs. Nobody else gets that.
I mean, there's precedent for that. I mean, obviously they did that with Rare. Pretty much all of Rare's properties got reworked because the people that originally made that stuff at Rare isn't there anymore. So
Right.
um, I could see how that would happen with some of that stuff. Like if there's other studios that prove themselves, um, it's a possibility they could shift some of those franchises around and just have other studios work on them, and then Microsoft or Bethesda or whatever brands it. I could
Mm.
see that being a thing. Um, but I guess the biggest question would be at that point. Um, that's going to be a longer project,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
because once you start talking about people who've never touched it before, Microsoft is at this point. If you spend all this money on these development studios, you're not doing this because you want duds.
Hmm.
So you probably want everything to be polished that's going to come out. So I would imagine if they do have a new studio, it's going to be probably half a decade we're talking about for a project. For somebody that's never touched a franchise before,
Oh
I,
yeah.
I would give them 5 years. Just being honest, because you're talking about you know new hardware to them. If you're talking about Bethesda, whatnot, that's used to building all their projects on mocked up PCs first.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit daunting for them.
Yeah, I was gonna say at that point you might as well just try and be hand in hand with the R&D for whatever comes next, and hopefully you can come out at the
Yep.
beginning of the next console cycle.
Now for my wish list for other third parties, I'm just like, can we like just bring back the demo for Beyond Good and Evil 2? Just bring it back.
Ah, I
And
know,
if
right?
just bring back the demo, say, hey, this is what we worked on. We just need somebody to help us with it so we can turn it into a game and go from there. Just be honest. Bring out, say, hey, look, this is what we have. This is the vertical slice, whatever. Here's all the code in the back end. We need help building the game. Go.
I don't understand what's going on with that. That over Skull and Bones should be easy. I won't say easy because I don't know the development side of it, but that game should have been easy enough to come up with the idea, have the idea and plan it, have the game mechanics that you wanted. I won't say it should be out already, but like, what is the problem? What is going on?
Skull and Bones was supposed to be going up against like Black Flag and all that
Hmm.
back then. So I don't know what conspired with that. And then at the time, I don't know if it was because of Rare's game, maybe Sea of Thieves kind of stole a little bit of thunder there as far as the seafaring combat. But to me, Skull and Bones looked like it was a completely different type of
Yeah, like
engagement. So I don't see why they would have saw that as a threat.
I don't know what
Other
was
than
going
they
on with
just
that.
had trouble during development.
Because it looked like the last time that we saw it, I won't say it looked like it was done, but it looked like the concept was there. Like you
Yeah,
had a whole concept of what you were trying to go about, trying to make it some kind of like your Assassin's Creed and all the other franchises where you put rare items and ultra rare and all that other stuff to make it RPG like. It was all there and just tied into an online, possibly an online offline game with your friends. The concept was there. So what happened? Why did you have to go back?
and that's one of those rare games where you can't say they went graphics first. You're talking about
Hmm.
buoyancy and ship combat. Obviously, you got to have some type of gameplay demo there because you're going to show a gameplay loop of how
Right.
that's gonna play out. Um, yeah, that's weird to go from having a complete gameplay concept to now we struggle to build a game around it. I'm like, but you have the fun part. Like, just find ways to do more fun things with it. Like, so you have the jumping out the warthog part. You
Hmm.
have that. You have the shooting part, and you just said, "Fuck it, we're not gonna build levels." Okay. I don't like how do you go from there to there? Usually a lot of these studios that they struggle, they spend years not getting the fun part right. Like they try to, this is not working. This is not what we thought it was going to be. This is not feeling like how we wanted it, kind of situation. That's usually what ends up happening. But they somehow figured out a way to get a whole gameplay concept up and running, and then just couldn't build a game.
Nah, it wasn't there.
Yeah, that's strange, man. But I mean, stranger things are happening. Like I said, it's all kind of games on the cutting room floor. I can only imagine how many complete games that just never got shipped.
Yeah, that's true.
Just couldn't do it, or like the publisher ran out of money, so they couldn't print discs. Like just all kind of stupid stuff like that probably happened between the last 4 generations of home consoles. It's just insane. But other than that, I can't think of really anything else. I don't know if Capcom's doing anything. I would imagine so, because they want to. I guess they want to show off probably more Street Fighter
6. Yeah,
I'm guessing so. So they got to do something.
We'll see how that goes. Dennis said Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake got rebooted. Yeah, I think I've seen they came out with an announcement about pushing it back or something silly like that. I mean, whatever. I feel like people wanted Prince of Persia like 6 or 7 years ago, and
yeah,
they didn't get it, and so now they're like, "Oh yeah, we do got that. We do have that. Yeah, let's."
And now I'm wondering, with other games coming out and the way they play, is that even going to be?
It's going to be Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At this point, what is it going to be? Because like,
if it's a reboot or a remake, it's going to be Assassin's Creed. That's all it is. Assassin's Creed with the Prince of Persia costume over it, the veil over it.
Which is just crazy. Like,
it's sad too.
Mirror's Edge mechanics in it, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't know. Like I do like Ubisoft because they have great ideas like Rabbids, but like when it comes to their other titles that are quote unquote more serious, they all seem to not necessarily play the same, but they have that same mechanic in every single one of them. Far Cry, you got the see-through walls to highlight people, which is the same in Assassin's Creed, which is the same in Watch Dogs, which is the same in Prince of Persia. Like you jump off from the top of a building, you go up, and it's like, yo, you guys got to think of something new. Like,
y'all the people that made Rayman. Like, what happened?
But let him go. But actively let him go off of a high point of the last Rayman. That was an amazing game. You had the soundtrack to go with it. That was an absolutely amazing game. And then, like, after you were done, you were like, yeah, nobody likes Rayman.
I think he was saying too much though, because during the whole Wii U situation, they were protesting and whatnot. I think that was probably one of the things that were, and so a lot of those guys, they probably lost their jobs over there. I know a couple of guys, at one point they said they probably were going to get fired for it, but they didn't care. They wanted, hey, look, our game is complete. Like, why are we waiting for this to come out on other systems when it's already ready for Wii U right now? Let's go. Let's publish this game. And Ubisoft proper was literally holding the game back, so they could port it to 360 and PS3 then at the time. It's just kind of strange, just really strange. Some of the decisions they've been making lately, and I don't know about the whole, like, Rainbow Six. They're trying to make Rainbow Six not Rainbow Six, and I don't. Yeah. I don't understand a lot of this decision making. You have a franchise that's known for something, and then you're like, yeah, we're gonna not make it that anymore. And I don't get any of that either. So it's just really, really odd to see them take the turns that they're taking.
Given it the whole extraction. Oh man.
And then you have games that are surprise hits. You have Child of Light, and then you don't follow up on it. You're like, well, we might port it again. You come on, bro. Like, just strange stuff, strange activities, man. Strange activities.
That's
So
the English version of Squeenix.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, French. I forgot they're
The French
French.
version of Squeenix.
Yeah, French version of Squeenix.
It's just over there being weird for whatever reason, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And they're like, "Well, we'll use this Mario Rabbids money to go fund the next Ubisoft project that's also going to go bankrupt."
Mm-hmm.
And then they move around and they do something else. So go figure. Now Nintendo's going to do their normal direct, and they're going to do whatever it is they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nintendo's probably at this point they've shown that they have games just waiting.
Right.
They're just like, we're going to do switcheroo with title release dates. Like they can just do that.
They do that now. Now they do that.
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense because 2020 was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, hey, we got to delay stuff, and they delay stuff, and it's like, well, everything that we have for 2020 got pushed back, and now we got to find a place to put all these things, and we don't have a place to put all these games. We can't release 2-3 Nintendo published games in the same month. So we're going to stretch them out, and now it's stretched out to the point where I don't even know where the end of it is at this point.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about just bigger titles because they already talked about how they've got more titles in the works that we don't even know about. And I shudder to even think of them.
We do know Pikmin 4 is out there. We know that's out there.
Yeah.
Clearly, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was done.
Mm-hmm. We haven't heard about Metroid nor Bayonetta, though we've seen Bayonetta's, but we still don't know where that's at.
Yeah.
In the timeline. It's just we gotta and now, well, according to rumor, I don't know if it's officiated yet, but Bandai has something being remade, some sort of remake or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm like you, I hope it's Soul Calibur. Give me Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah.
But we still got that, and that's not even including whoever they feel like they want to publish for, anywhere from indie to a new AAA game that they just decided to give somebody a licensed character of theirs. So it's a mess, man. Nintendo is a mess in a good way, but Nintendo is a mess.
We mentioned Beyond Good and Evil 2 already, and in MechWarrior, I saw James Gleason, he pointed those out. We were talking about those earlier. But yeah, Nintendo's they're straight. At this point, I don't even really care. I'm so backlogged anyway on this thing. I don't even really care what they announce at this point. It doesn't matter because I'm not looking for games to play on Switch at this point. Only for games to play on other stuff. Because I'm good for a significant period of time on this platform. So
yeah. At this point, buying any game is pretty much just going to be sitting as a trophy until it gets unwrapped. And
then Nintendo Switch Sports, so they're going to continue to pimp that out and show whatever updates they have for that game. Splatoon is basically going to be their version of Doom or whatever, and they're going to continue to pump out content for that.
I realize how much I realize how much that sucks because you got Switch Sports, which is like the family fun game, or because now it's online, you want to play online and stuff like that. But then like they're releasing like the golf update, which means they're probably going to be releasing other updates throughout the months. But then you got Splatoon. You got to try and keep up with Splatoon because it's not a game of once you fall off, you can't ever get back on. But once you fall on, it's like, man, come on, just cut me a break.
Saying Mario Rabbids 2 and Astral Chain. Man, it would be great to see a sequel to Astral Chain.
No, let Astral Chain come out next year.
Man, Platinum's not touching it until they're done with Bayonetta 3. So. Right. If Bayonetta 3 is close to completion, then maybe. And Dark Wesker said something about Starlink. Yeah, that would have been something special, man. They should just go ahead and made it a Star Fox game. I don't know why they didn't.
It should have been exclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, it might as well because I feel like the other two didn't sell.
Yeah, the other two platforms didn't do that well. Everybody bought it for the Star Fox stuff, for the armor and all that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but with that being said, if and like I said, I think I've said this before, with Beyond Good and Evil 2, if they are having that much trouble with, oh yeah, mine's just sitting back there too, somewhere down there. Yeah, if they're having that much trouble with Beyond Good and Evil 2 to the point where they had to, I won't say scrap it, but kind of do away with most of that, they should just transform that into a Star Fox game, because that's all you got to do. That's what Starlink ended up doing, going to different planets, which is what I wanted to do with the Star Fox game anyway, be free to roam to different areas. Yep. So if they were to turn Beyond Good and Evil 2 into Star Fox universe, I'm fine with that. I'm cool.
I mean, the demo ended with you going to space, so
right.
I could definitely see how that would be great to link those together. So where's it said Baron be jumping for joy in the ring of Bayonetta? Okay, yeah, I mean, but that's Baron, man. So yeah, I got to get him on the podcast at some point. It'll be difficult to link up with him at this point because he's obviously busy, but I'll try to get him on here at some point so we can kind of talk about, that's his girl, so he want to talk about Bayonetta.
Right.
So, but no, that's pretty much all I got. You got anything else you want to pimp out? Because we're pretty much. Unless we got other questions, but I think we're pretty much.
Saturday, we were gonna do Most Anticipated on Saturday on my channel, but we haven't gotten everybody together. Unfortunately, Jack is spending time with his kids as well. My co-host, actually, my co-host was available. Vicky was going to be our moderator / ref, and she's unavailable this weekend. So instead, we are going to talk about Switch 2, what we want in a Switch 2, and also, is it possible to have a Switch 2 come out under the guidelines that I throw out there? Does it make it a possible release for 2023? Yes or no? So that's the conversation that we're going to be having on Saturday, and then as well, you can join Shadow and I on Sundays on the Winging It podcast at 7:00 on Jay Fleming's channel. So make sure you go over there and hit the subscribe button and hit the like button for his latest content and his last Sunday podcast as well. That's all I got.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, so y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Sandstorm, please. Sandstorm Show. Subscribe to his channel and make sure y'all subscribe to the Winging It podcast if you haven't done it already. Jay Fleming's channel, and you see me there on Sundays. May or may not make it to Sandstorm on Saturday. I have to see what I have going on here because Mother's Day weekend and whatnot. So
oh yeah, that's right.
Hopefully I can attend and we can go from there. But because I would definitely want to talk about Switch 2 since Switch Pro is this too apparently. But I'll let that dog die, I guess. But if there are no more questions, that'll be it. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. That's it for ShadowCast 48. I appreciate y'all. Y'all like and subscribe. Add more likes in this piece also. And we'll talk about Beyond Good and Evil 2, I guess, again, because we keep getting comments about that. But, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out. Do you play games, have fun, or to impress other people?
Peace.
Later, y'all.